Alright, so, prior to last week, the Ashen Hearts had spent some time under Turnok's guidance getting their affairs in order. Now, that turned out to be more difficult than maybe they expected, as there were a great many things that they wanted to look into, pursue, or otherwise investigate. But, thankfully, the White Dragonborn was able to get at least a preliminary list of things together. And the first thing that you guys decided to go after was looking into the headquarters of the freelancers in Postizia, your overarching organization, your adventurers guild, which in recent weeks has elicited some suspicion, especially from Barnack, after learning some disturbing facts about his past. But upon arrival, you found a very quaint and very much subdued headquarters, with only the taskmaster, one Mr. Silver, a very relaxed halfling or gnome, you weren't sure, who immediately sent you out on another errand because, as it turned out, the illustrious arcanist Elena Sordenbrand had need of your aid immediately. It seemed that there was an asylum called the Weave Wills Asylum, in which the unsouled were housed. These strange, seemingly soulless people that had, since the gods' fall, become mere husks, mere imitations of their former selves, and that there was some trouble at this particular asylum. You were also warned of very big spiders, interdimensional spiders, and upon arrival you found indeed a completely cordoned off and quarantined Weave Wills asylum. After conversing briefly with a man whose name you never learned, due to the haste and the speed with which you needed to act, you found out that there was indeed a significant reward for rescuing Arcanist Soderbrand from the asylum, and you entered, finding the entire place covered indeed in this very, very adhesive webbing all over the place, as well as several bodies already completely drained of their fluids and life essence in cocoons that had been spun up. You explored a little more, and you eventually found your way into the eastern wing of the house, or manor, as it probably once was. And there you found the source of the infestation, a strange purple-blue portal, very similar to what you had once encountered already underground beneath Fort Orange some weeks ago. But before you could investigate it further, you were attacked by what seemed to be the matriarch of these spiders, this enormous, overpowering thing that almost managed to put a few of you on the ground. But you stuck together, you made sure you worked together as a team, and you cut it down along with the spiders that it summoned. And in the aftermath, with some ingenuity from Jean-Jacques, you were able to blast a hole in the side of the building, circumventing the portal that was obscuring the rest of the hallway, and you were able to retrieve Arcanist Sordenbrand, who seemed to be encased in half of a cocoon, having partially escaped and then protected herself somehow behind the portal. And you were able to revive her with Kor's help, curing the poison that was or keeping her debilitated. And that is where we left off. So let's say we return to her having found her footing again, and the three of you that had been helping her all returning to the hallway that's still mainly covered in all the spider webbing, except for some places where Jean-Jacques had either burnt away or spread the blood of the matriarch to neutralize the webbing. And the Arcanist just kind of walks in. She's still stretching, you can tell she's sore. She's probably been lying there, maybe drifting in and out of sleep and unconsciousness for the better part of a day or two. So it's been quite an ordeal. And she also immediately asked for a little bit of water to drink, just to loosen her throat a bit and get her properly hydrated again. When she looks upon your handiwork, she nods approvingly, very, very simply, maybe a little underwhelmingly, but her eyes immediately are drawn to the portal again, and before she can, before she even engages any of you, she just immediately turns to the portal. She snatches something up, and you see that there's like a component pouch that had been discarded in some of the webbing, which kind of wrenches free with a little bit of fire magic, and she starts rummaging through it, and she starts just walking around the portal, mumbling spells and incantations, trying to do something. But she immediately is back in work mode, presumably assuming the same as you might, that this could still lead to more trouble if this portal remains open. But in the meantime, all of you have some time to collect yourselves. At one point, by the way, since Bruno unfortunately couldn't make it last week, but at one point, Turnock was briefly knocked unconscious through one of the poisons, but Jean-Jacques was able to wake him up again, or at least it seemed that way. So, you kind of all look around. This place is still messed up. You check maybe the bedrooms around you as well. Those figures, those unsold that were still lying there, look up at the ceiling. They're currently no longer trying to get free, but they're just kind of lying there, still staring up, doing absolutely nothing. So what is it that you guys want to do here?
One thing I'd like to do is, can I try and identify the spell that she's casting, or the spell that she's
Definitely. I believe that would be an intelligence check or an arcana check.
Arcana, DC 15 plus spell's level.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Go ahead. The spell is cast as a class spell, and the character is a member of that class, but I don't think so. So.
Right. No, I get it. Yeah. Okay.
No.
No.
Yeah, it's an 11, so 15.
Okay.
I already fail, so.
All right. Yeah. No. It's definitely no, and I always like to imagine, and I think that is definitely the case here. What puts you off is the fact that even among wizards, there's these kind of dialects in their movements, in their speech. So this particular spell, you can't quite equate it to something that you've seen someone else do before, or that maybe you know yourself. But no visible effects happen. Sometimes you think that maybe the air around the portal shimmers a little bit. Like in a really hot day, that the air down the street can shimmer. It's kind of that effect a little bit, but it immediately disappears again the moment that you notice it.
Okay.
So.
Well, if nobody else does anything, I will address her.
Okay. Go ahead.
So I just kind of try to get into her periphery, and I just say, Madam, I don't mean to be a nuisance or anything, but is there anything that we can do to help? You've been trapped here for a little bit, so I'm a bit concerned about you interacting with the portal directly at this point.
She kind of takes a moment to respond, and you think, did she ignore you completely, or did she not hear you? And you're about to maybe speak again, and then she finishes whatever she was doing, and she turns around, and you see that she has to kind of take a breath and steady herself. She almost reaches out for the wall, but then realizes, that's still webbed up completely with this spider stuff, and she kind of just steadies herself. You're right. This is very dangerous, but it is more dangerous to leave whatever this is open. Now, I gather that you have some official training in magic. Is that correct?
One could say so, yes.
And perhaps you can help me. Have you ever encountered anything of the sort before? Are you trained in portals, by any chance?
I'm not trained in portal magic as such, but I have seen similar things in the past.
She kind of stops for a moment. She was about to turn away, and she stops, but then just nods. She looks over your shoulder and addresses the rest of the Ashen Hearts, and she says, "If you could please step away. We don't know what will happen if we force close it." And she just beckons to you and beckons you closer.
Yeah, I'll approach.
And she starts to kind of, she says, "Just follow my lead," and she starts to guide you in these hand motions and to speak for her in certain ways. And now you don't necessarily need to roll another check, but you begin to realize this is likely a version of the Dispel Magic spell which she's trying to apply, and it's simply not taking hold as far as you can see. But since you are assisting her now, if you could please roll another Arcana check. And yeah, actually,
14.
okay. There is a brief moment.
Oh, no, never mind.
Sorry. Okay. There's a brief moment as you both finish the final part of the spell, and she expends her magical energy towards trying to close the portal. There's a second, and you almost feel like it starts to grow and envelop you. It's this really quick flash of hallucination. And for the briefest of seconds, you see an endless expanse of mirrored hallways and floor and sky, and standing there is one figure whose face you can't make out. Probably human-sized, but aside from that, no clue who it is. Just a silhouette, before you're pulled back again, and you just hear her cursing under her breath in some accented form of common. And she kind of looks at you for a moment. Did you see that as well?
I did.
She looks frustrated, and she says, I must get out of here, but I need to close this, so I will try again. Please see if you can find any other anchor points around here. Perhaps the spell, or this, whatever it is, has other sources, in which case it will be difficult to break it up just here.
Alright, do you perhaps think, madam, that if one were to venture inside, they might be able to close it from within?
She was about to turn back, and she turns back to you again, and you just see a perplexed expression on her face. Enter? No, you cannot. You cannot enter it. There is no guarantee that you will leave it again. Whatever experience you have, but this is closing here and now.
Understood. I will look around.
Look for any warding spells. I suspect that the wards that I placed upon my materials, and she kind of points, and you can vaguely see the outline of what seems to be a bag set on a dresser, like right behind the door. And she says, whatever spell I placed on it, a warding spell, I suspect that it interacted with this place somehow and created this portal. So if you can find anything else like that, then that is likely part of the reason why I'm unable to close it here. Please have a look and let me know. I will continue to try.
Alright. I kind of briefly walk over to the others and explain what we're looking for, and say, I do think that we can pool our resources together. While we might not be trained in magic, y'all are a perceptive bunch, so if somebody would like to help me, look, I can guide you along as well.
Yeah, I'll do my best to help you, Jean-Jacques, but it's not like, you have my eyes and ears if I see something unusual.
That is often helpful in and of itself. All right, let's get to it, and I'll investigate or arcana it.
I mean, for you it's the same, right? So
yeah,
the same scores. So yeah, go ahead and make it an arcana check.
Would I get any help from?
Yes, you are getting help. I will say, because of the lack of training, instead of advantage, it will equate to, let's say, a +4 instead.
Okay. Thank goodness, because 19.
Nice.
Not my dice are not kind to me right now.
So as you start to look around, and even though the rest of the party is not necessarily trained either, but with help and everyone keeping their eyes open, you are actually able to deduce quite confidently that there are no, at least not on this floor, or even any signals that it's coming from the floor below, You don't think that there are any warding spells or any other magic really that's been, that's seeped out or that has anchored it somewhere else. It's really that portal. It's just so different from the magic that you know. It also doesn't exude any, of the strange green kind of vapors that you've seen recently in other magic users and other magical effects. It is completely alien in effect. You do find, however, a few other things. So you find in next to one of the unsold, but completely wrapped up. You think at first maybe it's like an anchor or a sigil or something, but it's actually a small diary from one of the workers who used to take care of the unsold in this place. And on top of that, as you really look around, you also find in one of the empty chambers, in essentially what seems to be a storage closet, you find a strange set of alchemical supplies, the means to brew potions, but definitely not a standard collection of equipment. And next to it stand three seemingly newly made superior healing potions.
Okay.
One thing
And
that stands
inspecting.
sorry,
Okay,
yeah,
go ahead.
but one thing that stands out about the set is that it has two stools in front of it. Obviously, one for whoever was working on it, but the other one has a strap, and on the table next to it is what seems to be this dirty needle that's attached to the whole set with a tube. It seems to be for extracting something.
What in Magnus beard is this? And I kind of look it over, and like I'm thinking it probably was like somebody was being exsanguinated for the purposes of making these potions to whatever extent. And if I inspect the needle, or say it's dirty, does it have any dried blood on
It is
it, or can I
definitely
see?
blood. Yeah, you can smell the iron
Yeah.
in that blood immediately. But surprisingly enough, while it has coagulated, it hasn't started to like go bad. Essentially, it looks almost fresh still, like it's been put on there 10 minutes ago. Even though you are very sure that that is not the case.
And this is one of the empty rooms you said, right?
This is one of the empty rooms. Yes.
All right. I realize this is sick to some folks, but I'll touch the blood, then I'll taste it with the tip
Okay.
of my tongue.
Okay. Make a medicine check. And by the way, while Jean-Jacques is investigating this, right? What are, let's say, Tani and Barnack up to? Because of course Turnock was going with Jean-Jacques, but Barnack and Tani, what are you doing, if anything?
Tani, why don't you help me go around, well, all the other rooms, and we can talk a bit.
Talk about the spiders or
Sure.
the magic? What do you mean?
Yeah.
And I walk along him. Along.
Okay.
Tani, remember when we became freelancers together?
Mm-hmm.
Core, you and me. I do believe that I wasn't opposed to us being freelancers, and I believed in them wholeheartedly.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, I don't anymore. And yesterday you said that you needed to talk about something important, so I think all of us need to talk about something important. So
Yeah.
I don't know if we should be freelancers anymore.
Is it because the dream you saw? Well, not the dream, the memory you saw in the mirror room place?
Kinda, yeah. And everything else, even people here thinking that freelancers are just no one that takes everyone's credit and whatever. You see how that guardsman thought of us. Unless, well, before we explained it, we will say that it was their thing. They did it.
Yeah.
This. Are you okay though?
Eh, if I distract myself, then yeah, I'm okay. But I need to tell you guys about. Remember when Finn waved me over after Appy did that thing? Well, no longer Appy
Yeah.
person.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's some news, but I I need, as I said, I need you guys to help me think. So I need everybody. I think.
Yeah. Yeah. I can think. Well, half think for myself usually. Helping others think. No,
Generous.
I think we need we need a ledge. I can think when I'm on a ledge.
Yeah, you do that magic thing that you close your eyes and
Yes.
suddenly you know lots of things.
Yes. I That is one of the talents that I have.
Okay.
Yeah, and we'll
Is
just walk around. Yeah, we'll just walk around like
Yeah,
searching
joking.
for anything, but actually not searching for.
Yeah. Okay.
did Nicola just disappear in the background, or
Yeah,
is he
Yes.
not?
It's
Okay.
identical. Yeah.
yeah,
I'm
he,
here.
yeah, he
Okay.
did this.
Ah, okay.
Okay. So, in the meantime, Jean-Jacques, you
No,
were
I-
tasting the
oh.
blood. Oh, sorry, Turnock, you wanted to say something?
Oh no. Yeah, it's just I was going to interact a little bit
Okay.
with Jean Jacques just
All right.
as we were down there, right? And Jean Jacques is tasting the blood, and
Mm.
I am absolutely disgusted by it. I just turned to him and uh, can we trust her? She seems like she domains a different kind of magic than the one that you do, and this thing right here, this station or whatever this is, this not okay. This, if they were testing with people, if they were utilizing this place to concoct potions or uh, I I I don't know what kind of extent this sort of magic can go. I've seen you do stuff, and I've seen all sorts of wizards and sorcerers do all kinds of things, but there's usually a limit, and we need to find out whoever's behind this because this is not okay.
Well, to answer your first question, my default answer to that, with regard to anybody, but especially people of such power, is no. Um, Never trust anybody with that kind of power if you've just met them. Um, I do not believe that she is directly connected to this and the kind of motion to whatever we see in front of us. Um, I believe that this was being done by the personnel of this facility. Maybe not all of them, maybe about one, but I don't know if she's directly involved. Which we will
And
find out hopefully.
and it I cannot stop from coming to my mind that there's a lot of people going missing recently, and I don't know which sort of purposes this facility can it's being used to. So if we haven't already, we should investigate every leak in place in every corner because we can't let anything go missing here.
Yes, we can definitely go investigating a bit further. This facility had faced, or at least from what I know, was supposed to be one for people with addled brains and traumatic injury to their minds. Like the Unsold, I don't know how much you know about them, but they're not an uncommon occurrence per se. Um, Yes. It's
Well,
definitely
just judging by the
disconcerting.
state of this place, this is creating traumatic experiences, and at least for whoever's in here who is not used to giant fucking spiders, I mean, it's not a good place to be. That we
No.
need to bring this situation to some sort of official manner. I don't know if you're going to report directly about this to the freelancers headquarters. I still not sure if that's the best idea, but this we need to do something about this. This place, this facility cannot remain active if it is.
Oh, I don't think it will in this
And,
current state. As you heard, the assistant of Madame Sortenbrand, the division is already looking into it. And as far as I know, unless this is entirely cleaned up, it won't be here for long.
whenever we don't enter something, things just follow their natural course, which is just to keep existing. So I wouldn't trust other people to.
Yeah, that's true, but the freelancers don't have that kind of authority per se. Um, this is Kevin.
Hmm.
Just before I start speaking out of my ass, this would be a government facility, right?
It depends really on the facility. So in this case, it was actually run by adherents to the Night Mother. Based, they mainly subsisted on donations, but there are definitely similar facilities that are run by the
Okay.
assembly directly.
Okay. And yeah, we were aware that it was the
Mm-hmm.
Church of the Night Mother.
Yeah.
So I'll say, if this is this facility is run by the Church of the Night Mother, I don't think the freelancers can directly, let's say, interpose.
And who
Church.
can?
What do you mean?
Who can?
Who can? Well, the government, for sure. If the Division for Unusual, I keep
Unusual Services Division.
Unusual USD.
Just remember dollars, USD.
Yeah. If we were to bring this to the attention of our acquaintance from the USD, we could potentially do something about it. But I think that the spiders are. Well, I know that the spiders are new from what we've been told. I don't think this is business as usual. So.
Oh yes, no, not definitely.
And I trust that whatever her motives might be otherwise, that the Lady Sordenbrand is likely going to intervene here. I imagine, at least.
Your faith in the government and the way of things, it's really admirable. But what I'm trying to say here is that have you already noticed with how many different organizations and different people with different motives we are usually hanging around with? But not only that, but we as a group, we don't align ourselves with any of these people motives, not even the freelancers anymore. So I just want you to think about this long and really, really, really for a long time, because what I believe here is that, whatever path we decide to follow from here, and what I see from here is after the ball, I do not believe our motives align with any of these organizations, and we should consider a different route. A different route where we have a little bit more autonomy than we have usually.
Don't get me wrong, by the way. I don't have the faith in the government in the sense that I believe that all it does is righteous and good. What I do have faith in is the immovable and enormous machine that is bureaucracy that will not stand for anything that is a break in that system.
Turnock, when you say that, I am not able to reproduce that, but it's like a really deep laugh, like as ironic as I can get.
Yeah, I see the sarcasm, and if you just let me finish, I believe that the government's interests here are not to have a scandal on their hands that goes out into the public and all these rumors start circulating and it mires the public image. What I believe is that the USD's and all these others organizations' motive here is to keep this under wraps and make sure that it doesn't get out that there was a fuck up of colossal proportions where fucking spiders from another realm invaded the capital city of the Republic.
Yeah, I get it. I just wonder when we will be the spiders. When we will be the problem that they need to handle.
True.
Because, well, as with most of these organizations, if there's something more powerful or that threatens their power, they go after it. And yeah, powerful handlers are also a problem. So I just want you to keep that in mind.
No, I definitely will. But just to go back for a moment to your thought about motives and how we are not aligned. One thing, and perhaps we haven't had much opportunity to converse about these things with each other, but I am fiercely dedicated to this republic and the ideals that it stands for. I have been made into a tool that is to ensure that the republic prevails no matter what.
We haven't had the time to converse about this. You are definitely right, but your actions speak for themselves. It's most definitely clear that I just, as I said, John Jock, I just want you to think really long about this and what you stand for and what we as a group stand for. Because at this point in time, I don't think I trust any of these organizations. And I look at my chest, I mean any of them. And my point here, at this point, would be just to trust you. If you think that being a tool to the Republic is good for you and this is what you want to fight for, well, you go ahead and I'll be your sword. But
Just kind of laughs, and the laughter is mirthless and cold and just distant. There's like no joy or anything like that. He says, and he just looks at Turnock with like, I think it would probably be just a tiny little bit sad, but otherwise just cold and detached look. And he says, "What I think or do not think matters not, my friend. I am a tool." And
you're so wrong in so many levels. So wrong.
So, in the meantime, I imagine this whole conversation happened as you were about to taste the blood, and then when you get to this point, it's just like, oh, right. And so you taste it, and you rolled a medicine check, correct?
Yes, 10.
Okay. It's definitely blood. But what you also notice is you gain 1 temporary hit point. Whatever this blood is, and however long it's been here, it still seems to retain some of its power to seemingly regenerate. And even with a 10, I think you deduce that it definitely went into the healing potions, and it has regenerative properties. Although you're probably not familiar with whose blood that might have been, or what type of person that might have been.
Yeah, I'll just kind of pick up the bottles and kind of go to pocket them, and I look at Turnock. I do this not for personal gain. I do this for investigation, just so it's clear that I do not intend to just take advantage of whoever was sucked dry for this. It's to follow up and...
just a cold breath, I exhale like a small cold breath. You can see it's colder than the usual air, and just shoulders given.
Okay. All right. Is there anything else you want to do at the alchemical set, or do you want to return, let's say, all of you to Elena and see if she has managed to completely close the portal?
How much is there in this alchemical set? Would it be possible for me to take it?
So the way I imagine it, you might be able to carefully disassemble it, and place it inside the haversack. But it would definitely take some time. It would take you probably a good 30 minutes just making sure that none of the connections break and things like that.
I'll just investigate it really quickly to see if there are any components or any traces of errant magic or something that I might have missed on my first go around.
Okay.
But otherwise, I'll leave it alone.
Yeah, nothing that stands out to you particularly, but if you wanted to take something for investigative purposes, the most logical thing would probably be the needle. It seems to be of a particular design to draw, and it probably would be quite difficult to make. So if you could deduce who made it, you could probably take that lead and investigate.
I will take that then. Yeah.
All right. So you have 3 potions of superior healing from the asylum, and you have the blood drawing needle from the asylum as well.
3 times asylum healing potions.
Hi everyone. So here we had a quick disconnection during the stream, and unfortunately we're missing perhaps 30 seconds or so of content, but it shouldn't impact your viewing or listening pleasure. But you may notice that the story skips ahead a tiny amount.
Tasting a bit of blood, to clarify, for scientific reasons.
But maybe we should take one of those unsold as well and just cut them open and see what their blood does.
Maybe not.
By the way, just before we proceed, I'm sure that was Nicola who was actually controlling my character, because nobody else other than a spellcaster would let a fighter go down as easy as I went. So.
Oh, but you didn't lose any hit points. It was very.
Yeah, it was
a
instant poison.
Yeah, it was instant poison that just knocked you out.
I played a fighter, so I resent that statement. And the paladin afterwards.
True. All right, so sorry about that. Internet can do this sometimes to us, so I'm glad I'm back. And I believe that we were in the process of gathering up again in the uppermost hallway in which the portal exists. Is that correct?
Correct, yeah.
All right.
Yes. Tanya and I are back as well. Probably at the same time. We did go through the other side of the house.
Okay.
Just walking and talking, would anything seem out of the ordinary?
Did you make an effort to look specifically?
No, at least Barnack didn't. He didn't open every door and everything. He just looked at the doors that were open and okay. There's a bed.
You did find one more room in which one of the poor unsold what was left behind, and that room itself was much less webbed than this entire the left wing of the building was much less webbed up than the right one was, where the matriarch had made her nest. So you find one more unsold, and it's actually striking. It seems to be almost it's weird to say about someone who isn't quite there, but even just looking at them, this is a very striking individual, very just good looking, no other way to say it. And even though they look a little underfed, you also notice that they have these brown robes on, but they have pulled up the sleeve on the right arm, and they're just scratching in the arm, in the elbow.
Okay.
Do you want to investigate?
I would like to investigate, and I would also. Can I just take their arm and take it away from the scratching? Stop. You person, you good-looking
They
person,
kind of just
stop that.
continue doing it. You move the arm away, and they just stretch a little bit to continue scratching at
Yeah.
it. But it's a very mechanical motion. It's not like they're full-on opening the skin. It's just there is something there that's causing an itch, and just out of pure instinct, like bodily instinct, they're scratching at that location. But I will say, in the process of pulling the arm away a little bit, You feel no resistance, but you do spot that there are several what seems to be small marks on the arm, like little wounds that have been inflicted. Some older and some newer.
Arnak, do you think they're scratching at spider bites? But also, don't you think it's well? Why did the spiders not slurp these guys up? Is it because they're empty? Do you think? Ew! Did I just say slurp?
Yeah, you did. That was the weirdest part of all of that question. I don't know. I honestly don't know what the spiders think. Although what I do see is, do they look like spider bites?
No, they look like singular round marks, each
Okay.
individual and not spaced out like two
It-
at a time or whatever.
It doesn't look like spider bites though, Tony. It looks smaller than a bite. It looks like someone. It looks like a wound that was made by something very, very small. Oh, let's. Darn it! I'm not a physician. I'm not a doctor, but I can try to see what. Well, if there's any poison in their veins or whatever, can I make a small incision?
Sure. While they're scratching at it, or do you want to do
No,
something?
no. Before, like, just pulling away their arm again and saying, Tani, can you hold this arm for a moment?
Yeah. And yeah, I grab onto it.
Just
So-
for a moment.
Holding a soulless body down so you can cut into it.
A harmless mental patient is currently being assaulted by a
No.
dwarf and a half-orc.
No, they're not. They are not. We're trying to help.
Okay.
Helpless mental patient.
Okay. So Tani, it's easy enough. Like you still feel the impulse that they want to pull closer, but you don't have to exert any energy. Like the moment that it can't, the arm just kind of like it pushes gently like against your own strength, and that's it. Barnack, you manage to like stretch out the arm, and they kind of start fiddling a little bit, but that's about it. And so you want to make an incision to what end exactly?
To see if there's like, well, to draw some blood and to see if there's any poison in it. If I can
Okay.
inspect the blood as well, without making an incision at like the vein or something.
Yes. So
Like,
make a medicine check, please.
Darn it! I don't have
Could
my
Core
dice.
be with them?
I actually had Core probably observing Elena because, of course, in case she needs help.
right.
Okay, medicine check, you say?
Yes,
I
please.
will make a medicine check.
don't
I
roll
don't
a
have
one.
my dice, so don't
Yeah,
roll a
just tell
one.
me what
That's,
it rolls.
yeah, that's perfect when you say don't roll a one.
Yeah, that would be awkward.
Okay, 20 in total. 18.
20. Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, you do indeed manage to like exactly pinpoint the arteries and the veins, and you kind of push a little bit. You make sure you kind of get one of those little wounds. You count maybe 6 or 7 in total that are visible, and then scars of maybe 3 or 4 more locations. And you kind of get to one that seems to have been maybe like all of the other ones are on the arteries, but this one is kind of beside it. So you pick that one and you cut away a little bit of blood pops out. You feel this involuntary jolt as they try to pull the armor back a little bit, but it's nothing significant. And as the blood starts to run down, you check it, you smell it. It seems perfectly normal blood, and you don't detect any trace of poison. Or do you
Okay.
also want to lick the blood like Jean-Jacques did?
Well, I don't know. With Barnack. Oh, I mean, probably yes. I like tracking animals, so
Sure.
it would be something
connects.
that I would try even in the wild. So, sure.
Okay. Make another medicine check.
As he's studying it and I'm holding his arm, you don't think these spiders are like drinking their blood like this? They're not vampire spiders, are they? They have several mandibles. Okay.
I
I think to myself,
I'm
but
like this.
also
I'm like
thinking
this.
out loud.
I think so. The cider.
Nice. Okay.
Nice, 21 now.
Damn. Okay. I will say with that medicine check, you immediately become aware of the fact that as you taste it, you gain 7 temporary hit points. You feel pretty good, and it tastes like you can taste the iron, but it's not as like. I mean, I don't know if you've ever even been close to tasting maybe your own blood because you bit somewhere or whatever, but it's not good, right? But this does not have that revulsion that it kind of normally summons in you. In addition to that, I will say as you taste the blood, you feel that effect, you look at the person, you suspect that though at first you thought human, this must be an ASMR.
Okay. Okay.
And you remember from the early days of the God's Fall, or at least reports that were shared over time, is that ASMR were disproportionately affected by the condition that the Unsouled have. Almost all of them, like to the last one, all became unsouled and lost. Of course, presumably, people speculated that it had this to do with this connection to the gods and that it was weakened or severed in many cases.
Tani, I don't think this is from the spiders at all. These little wounds don't. An animal couldn't have made them. A monster couldn't have made them. Well, unless a monster was a human. So, I think we should tell this to Jean-Jacques and Tarnok and Kor. Maybe they'll know what to do with this. Although I feel really great. If you want a bit of this blood, just so you know, it does. Well, I feel stronger.
Really? But then, isn't it blood? Isn't blood nasty? And as I say this, I am gonna touch a bit of the wound.
Oh no.
You know what? This is how the myths about D&D players start.
You gain 10 temporary hit points, Tani. You feel pretty fucking good.
Oh no, the two of them are just gonna hunt ASMR from now on.
No, they're just gonna drag one around and feed on it like
Yeah.
vampires.
Yeah. So, Tani, let's go share this with others. Maybe I don't remember if anyone got hurt. This might help them. And yeah, let's go. I'll look back one more time, longingly for that blood, but I'm like, not now.
Okay, Vampire Barnack.
Yeah, no, and we'll come back probably.
Right. So yeah,
Barnack.
you start to head back. You find Jean-Jacques and Turnok having already rejoined Kor, and you notice now that the portal has indeed shrunk, and she's currently in the process of what seems to be a very long version of that dispel magic that she was working with you earlier, Jean-Jacques. And she's kind of walking around repeating herself, the same phrase kind of echoing through the hallway. You don't know what the words are, but it's just kind of like almost like a very distant choir, just constantly repeats itself. And you see the portal slowly shrinking in front of her. And then maybe a minute later or so, Tani and Barnack come wandering back in. But before you do, I would like you both to make a Constitution saving throw.
Fun. Okay.
Us?
Yes.
Yes,
Barnack
of course,
and
you.
Oh, wait.
Actually, Jean-Jacques, I would like you to make one as well now.
Okay.
Apologies.
Why did it roll at disadvantage?
24.
24, okay.
12.
12, okay. And Tani?
20.
20.
20.
Okay. So, after a little while, varying lengths of time, each of you feels that effect of, being bolstered disappear, but it drains you more than you realize, and you feel this brief wave of fatigue wash over you, and you just want to lie down and go to sleep. And for Tani and Jean-Jacques, that lasts for maybe a minute or so. You kind of have to, breathe and calm yourself, and then you're okay. Barnack, you gain 1 point of exhaustion as you just feel overwhelmed by losing this feeling that you had only moments ago.
Darn it.
We are already regathered, right?
Sorry?
We are already gathered. We're in the
Yeah,
same
at this
place.
point, I imagine this probably happens in the hallway right before they come in, and they kind of spend another minute just waiting and gathering themselves. And Barnack doesn't quite manage, whereas Tani does, and then you can enter and rejoin the party. At which point the portal is about to shrink into nothingness. She's just pushing the last bits into each other almost.
Yeah.
My point here
Could I
is
have-
just. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Could I have approached it sufficiently to get back that hallucination without interfering with her ritual?
You can definitely attempt to. How close would you get? I would say that the closest you've gotten so far, when you actually had it previously, was within maybe a meter of the portal. So do you want to get that close again? And you'd kind of be in her way at that stage, but
I want to avoid being in her way.
Okay.
So
Okay.
I'd get that close without being in her way if I can. If not, I'll just.
We'll say it can be a dexterity check just to kind of see if you can make yourself not
I'll leave it
available
alone.
enough.
I'll leave it alone.
Okay.
I'll leave it alone.
Okay. Yeah, you can move closer, but you don't. You feel like a little bit of a pull, but maybe that's just in your head. Maybe you're just curious
Yeah.
about what's behind the portal.
Either way, I'll get that close,
Mhm.
and then just on a whim, I'll use one sorcery point and cast subtle spell message
Mm-hmm.
towards it,
Okay.
thinking of Arathea.
Okay.
And I'll just say, Madame Arathea, are you there? Are we in danger? And that's it.
Okay. There's a pause, and you don't think that you'll be getting a response. So you look over your shoulder, you see Tani and Barnack having reappeared, and right in that moment, you hear the response in your mind, but it's distant. It's not the way the spell is supposed to work. Presumably because of whatever dimensional magics are at work here. But you do hear her saying, maybe shouting even, as if she was standing at the end of a very large, empty hall. And you hear her shouting, "It isn't time yet. Do not come back." And that's it.
Cool.
Okay. So the portal closes, and a very tired-looking Barnack and Tani rejoin, and you guys can kind of regroup a little bit. Is there anything you guys want to do specifically here at the asylum?
Destroy the eggs.
Okay.
For sure.
All right.
I think that's one of the things that we must do,
Okay.
is destroy the eggs.
All right. Okay, so you can do that easily enough. So you head downstairs, and it's essentially what you find out to be the kitchen area, with some storage closets around it, and underneath the kitchen table on which probably food was cooked once upon a time, but you find these thick, twitching sacks filled with little spiderlings.
Pew 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 pew.
Oh, I'll love this. I'll love this.
Firebolt. Pew pew
Alright,
pew pew
so
pew.
you spend
Uncharacteristically unraged turn up, like smashing eggs.
Okay. All right. So between the two of you, you managed to carve through and destroy most of the eggs, leaving just this wreckage of a table and smoldering remains of dead spiders. You saw a few start to skitter out, but just between all of you, you stomped them out and made sure that none escaped as far as you could tell. But even so, as you head back into the hallway to rejoin Elena, who's now headed into the main entry, or in the main hall, where you first came in, she looks around, and as you do as well, you notice, there are everywhere. There are little skittering spiders, some larger, some smaller. There's already been several egg sacs that have hatched and that have left behind their brood. And in fact, you assume that the only reason that the other larger spiders aren't attacking now is because you defeated the matriarch, and they're probably at least afraid of engaging with you again for the time being. But Elena looks around. She says, "Right. It's time for us to go. Have you got everything?"
Well, not necessarily. What will be the fate of the unsold that remain within their rooms?
That'll be in the hands of the Unusual Services Division. I expect they'll be waiting outside already.
About that. There's an unsold in the other part of the house, manor, asylum, and he is currently leaking a bit of blood, and the blood has healing properties.
And how did you find that out?
Well, I tasted it.
I look at Jean-Jacques, and then I look at Baranek, and I just, what in Nosgorov's name are you all thinking? Why? You know what?
Wait, Tarnok,
Leave
wait,
this.
Tarnok, that's a normal thing to do. When you're
Is it?
tracking
Is
an
it?
animal, for example,
Oh,
you
well,
take
so
the
he's
blood.
an animal now. Am
Well,
I
it's
an
not
animal
na-
to you as well? I carve on my hand, like I cut my hand with my rapier, and I say, "See, taste it, track me down. I'm going to run away from here, and you track me down." What are you thinking? What are you doing?
Elena clears her throat. Are you finished?
Well, I'm done with this place long ago.
She gestures for the door. She says, "Shall we?"
Before we do, Madam Sordner, is there nothing that we can do for the poor souls?
What is
I
it that you
trust
wish
that-
to do? I did not take you for medical personnel or otherwise caretakers of the needy. Do you want to take them with you? You are free to do so, but it will slow you down, and I will need to speak to you extensively tonight.
No, of course not. I just mean that if we do not interface with the Unusual Services Department at all on the topic of what happened here, I am afraid that these people will be a part of whatever further actions regarding the quarantine happen.
What makes you assume that? My aide, Benjamin, will tell them everything that they need to know, and they will take appropriate actions. She seems genuinely perplexed at the level of paranoia being displayed. As someone of the establishment, she just, for her, this is natural. Why would you be so suspicious of people murdering others immediately?
Well, the reason why I ask is that I would imagine it wasn't your doing, whatever happened here. It's not a spell that you cast, that you didn't cause this.
I have theories that I might have been indirectly responsible, but I will need time to assess and properly deduce what happened. It seems that my magic became, when I anchored it, became unstable, and near the unsold, it had this effect.
I see. Well, alright. Well, if you already have a working hypothesis and your aide will speak to the Unusual Services Department, my concerns are somewhat assuaged. I merely worry that they would find correlation between the unsold waking up and interplanar spiders appearing, and that they might consider that this was reason enough to include them in the process of extermination.
I suspect that there is a correlation, but I do not think that will escape the division, but I also do not think that will cause these unsold their demise. Now, you might argue that if they are taken into custody and researched at another facility, that would be inhumane, but I'm afraid I have larger concerns to look after tonight and in the coming weeks. If that is something you wish to deal with, you'll need to speak to the Commissioner of the Unusual Services Division, but I can tell you it is a difficult conversation to initiate and more difficult to have. So you must be well prepared if you choose to go down that route. And she kind of looks at you, but also at Turnock for a moment. Impressing, there is a route you can take if you have any concerns, but what happens may not be pretty, but it is also difficult to get involved in this, and you'd be taking on quite a large undertaking if you choose to.
Very well. Let us get out of here.
Excellent. She opens the door, steps through first. Once you get outside, you hear a squeaky voice from a patch of snow that's like lying on a brush outside the door, and appearing is your good friend Remy. Out of out of nowhere, he was hiding the whole time as you were inside. Because, well, are we all good? Did you get it done? Who's that? Oh, right, you went in for her, right?
Yeah. Great help as always, Remy.
I was the lookout. No one came by to cause you any more trouble. And no big spiders got out. Although I saw a leg.
Yeah, thank you for that. You really helped out a lot.
Well, what did you expect me to do? Just go in and, fall over and need rescuing? That's not the point of our agreement. I'm supposed to stay safe, remember? This was me staying safe.
Relax. Just pulling your leg. It's fine.
Well, it's not
Did
really
good.
nice. I have really short legs and I need them to walk on.
That's why I'm pulling, making longer. I just walk off after Lady Sword and Breath.
Okay. Yeah, she is already headed for the gate. And as the rest of you follow, you see emerging from the building down the street where that candle was burning. In the window, you see another short figure at the head of what seems to be two taller ones. And the taller ones, as they come into the firelight of the torches that have been set out around the tent on the street, you see that there's a gnome, like a female gnome at their head. She seems to be wearing some very formal black with red lining clothes, like kind of like a sort of suit almost. And the other two are just in pure black robes with a single red, like very dark crimson lining as well, with hoods over their heads. And they have a brief conversation with Lady Swordandbrand before they turn back and actually start heading towards the asylum, passing by all of you.
As they do, just a
Yes.
second, Kevin. As they do, I just get really close to Jean-Jacques and I just whisper, basically, motives, Jean-Jacques. And again, would you have solved this issue this way? And they step away.
Okay.
That's all.
Interesting. In the meantime, Lady Sword or Arcanist Swordandbrand is currently talking to the Black Hats that were also stationed outside, and you see them quickly rushing after the Unusual Services Division personnel that has already preceded them. And after that, she speaks briefly with Benjamin, as she called him, her aide, and they have a quick conversation. After which Benjamin comes over, hands you the chest with the gold in it, and so you gain roughly, I think what did it say, 1,600 guilders in platinum. 1,600, yes, that was it. I think.
Nice. Haversacker.
Yeah. I'm editing it already.
Nice.
So that's 150, 160. How
160.
many? How much? 160. So
Platinum.
that is
Right, platinum, because you looked through it as well last time, and you wanted to see what the coinage was.
That's right.
Yeah.
As they do, you see Turnock you briefly taking notes. Like, just briefly,
Mm-hmm.
you just notice that he does it.
Okay.
That's all.
Okay. After that's done, she has another brief exchange with Benjamin, and he then rushes down the street and goes to take care of whatever errands that he might have to take care of. And then she rejoins you guys. And you're standing in the street. It's starting to snow again. There's still a thin layer that fell during the evening before, and now it's starting to snow again. And you can feel with the chill rising in the air and more snow falling that this is going to be a very cold night. She looks at all of you and she says, "All right. Well, I suppose it is time for introductions, and at the same time, I would like to invite you to join me for the evening at let me get this right, at the latrine." And for those of you not in the know about politics, that's an odd name, right, for a place. But I will say probably Jean-Jacques and Turnock are probably aware. At least Turnock, for you remotely, it's something you've heard of once. Jean-Jacques, for you, this is kind of an invitation to an inner circle almost, because the latrine is the nickname of a bar, a tavern, that sits close to the halls of Parliament, where really important people are basically the exclusive customers of that place, and where they a lot of policy and business is decided in those in that little tavern over drinks, and goodwill is established there. So that is where she is inviting you. And while she starts walking, she kind of beckons you all to come walk up with her, and she looks over and she says, "So, I assume that you know my name, but who do I have the pleasure of speaking with? Outside, of course." And she gestures for you, Jean-Jacques. She says, "Outside, of course, Mr. Shepard. We are."
Okay.
Yeah. We are not acquainted, but I am well aware of who you are.
So, as she says that, one quick question. Storm Guide specifically says that I can stop rain within a 20-foot radius, but I feel like snow's close enough to rain where I could stop snow, too. Would you agree with that, Dungeon Master? It's only for a cool factor, really, but I'd like to be cool if I may.
I will say it has some difficulty because the form of what you're manipulating is different. So roll an Arcana check, but with advantage. You are a windmaker. You are trained in this sort of business. And we'll say 16 or higher, and you should be good.
26. That's a natural 20.
Already rolled. I was just going to say, as this interaction is happening, you can see that Turnock is checking the schedule because she invited us for something that we haven't prepared for. And at this point, you can already see that Turnock has a little bit of trouble when it comes to his eyesight to reading specifically. So it's basically that old man's drill of, like this, trying to find the correct distance. Then I just turn to Bornek and I say, "I don't think it will get in our way if we join her."
I wave my hand slightly, and then there's a cocoon around us where no snow is falling, and I give her a very formal, very proper, and exact, 1,000 times practice bow that is, just the right amount for a person of her station.
And while walking as well,
While walking, yeah. It's that noble, thing, yeah.
Okay.
Enchanté, madame. I was not aware that you would know of my presence, but it is good that we can speak honestly.
I decided to have a look after I heard from your mother a few weeks ago, but we'll get to that at another time. Please introduce your friends, your allies, freelancers, I believe, all of you, correct?
That is correct. And I point to Barnack and I say, this is the leader of our troop, one Barnack Stoneheart. And I feel like you, the rest of you, can introduce yourselves.
She nods to Barnack, and it's this kind of thing where she walks a little bit sideways and just kind of looks at each person as they speak to introduce themselves. So we'll say Kor introduces himself, and then she looks to Tani and Turnock for names and ideas of who you are.
I just say temporary freelancer as I pump my chest in the way to show the lock part insignia. Temporary freelancer, Turnock, and I don't bow.
She nods, and noting the insignia on your chest, she thinks for a moment. She says, "Welcome to the Republic, then."
Thank you so much.
And you are? And she looks to Tani.
I attempt to bow. Yeah, just I bend my waist down, look down, and Tani. I trained with Barnack as a freelancer too.
All right. She kind of considers for a moment, and she says also to you, well, it's very nice to meet you, Tani. It's nice to meet all of you. I'm happy that you came, and I hope you didn't find Benjamin too difficult to deal with. He can be a bit anxious in difficult situations, but I appreciate your help, and well, I feel quite confident that I shall need more of it, so I hope that you came prepared for not only the contract that I believe has led you here, but possibly also additional business if everything proves to be as I believe it will be. And she's seemingly being deliberately vague and kind of cryptic about the whole thing, but you can definitely see that there are wheels turning in her head as well, even as you guys walk and talk. And you exchange maybe some pleasantries, and she asks a little bit about what happened inside while she was not able to see the fight and things like that. Is there anything in particular that you would want to hide from her?
About the fight, or just
Or
in
about
general
what you
about
found in general there, or about you specifically, that would otherwise come up easily in conversation?
about there? I don't think so, guys. Like, I don't think we.
Just checking, right?
Yeah.
One thing I would like to do though is when we're leaving, like the part where the asylum is,
Mm-hmm.
those two guards that let us through.
Yeah.
And would Barnack know like what their what their salary kinda is? Like,
I guess make an intelligence check and see if how
Oh,
close
This is
Barnack
gonna
can
go
get.
great.
If
Roughly an average monthly wage, which is not that high, but
12.
12. Okay, I would say
Like giving them a platinum, would they think it an honor or something?
it would be. I mean, a platinum piece. I think for most regular workers, not business owners, but just workers, would be a significant boon. It would essentially be half of a monthly salary for them, for an average.
It's half a month of comfortable living, I think.
Yeah.
If you go by raw.
Yeah, definitely. But prices are also higher in Postizia. So
Yeah, of course,
kind of offsets each other.
Okay. Okay. Then while we're passing, like I'll just stop and tell them
Okay.
again, thank you for letting us through. As I said, I'll make sure to mention that all of you guys helped us as well, and for your trouble, here you go. I'll give them a platinum piece each.
Okay. So the human takes it gladly and he just says, "Oh, thank you, sir. Really nice to see that everything seems to have worked out well." The half-orc takes the platinum piece, kind of checks it for a moment, checks if it's real by biting on it, and then just looks at you, looks at the other guy, looks back to you. You trying to bribe us?
No, I'm leaving. This is because you helped us get in, and because, well, yeah, not all freelancers are like. Why am I saying freelancers? We are not alike. Bye bye.
He just stares and watches you kind of mumble.
Just like, take the fucking money, I'm leaving.
You just get a really like, not really, but just a slightly confused look from Elena. She just kind of looks at you like, what was that all about? But she doesn't say anything.
Yeah.
Just
The only thing that I would make an effort to hide is our encounter with the portal underneath Fort Orange. That's
Okay.
the thing that I would definitely skip. And maybe, a couple other things that probably wouldn't come up easily in conversation.
Yeah,
like,
if
I don't
it's
know,
not
releasing an
standard,
archmage of elves and stuff.
No. But primarily, things that I know that you guys have in the past chosen to present yourselves differently than you are. So I just wanted to give you the opportunity without going through every part of the conversation.
Yeah.
So, after about... It is a cold 25 minutes or so of walking, and also probably traveling by the river, just to get down to the first district, and close to the Houses of Parliament. When you finally make it to the latrine, this seemingly quite a cozy looking tavern that is set on the riverside. At this point, it is snowing heavily. You are keeping it off of the group, but all around you, you can see that the snow is rising slowly, and you actually see behind you as well, where you guys have walked, the snow is just a little bit less deep, and it's starting to cover your footprints. But there's definitely this kind of, deeper part where Jean-Jacques has prevented the snow from falling as you guys passed. But you make it to the tavern. And before you enter, Eleanor just kind of stops for a moment and turns to all of you, and she says, "Now, I don't know if all of you understand the significance of this place. I am both at liberty and happy to invite you inside, but please behave appropriately. The greatest minds of our republic come together here to make sure that everything runs smoothly. So I will expect that you behave appropriately, and regardless of politics or orientation, please do not offend anyone. Alright?"
I turn to the guys and I say, what that means basically is just remain silent for the most part.
She seems a bit surprised, but does not disagree. Very
Yeah.
distinctly.
I just look at her, give her a nod, and just say, if you don't mind, Madame, for our time in there, if you could go along with the ruse of me being Jean-Jacques Dupois, I would appreciate that.
One of her eyebrows gets raised again, and she nods. But right before she's about to enter, she turns again, and she kind of leans in close to you. "I will, but I cannot promise that no one else will recognize you. Your mother is a formidable woman." And with that, she lets go of your arm, and she enters, and the door opens, and it's a welcome blast of warm air. As you step inside, you can hear the fire crackling in the corner, and inside you see a number of different individuals spread out. I think I also dragged you guys to the map already, where you can kind of see the layout and where some people are sitting. Actually, Remy's with you guys here. You see at a table right as you enter on the left side what seems to be a kind of haughty older human male alongside a halfling who seems to be a bit more studious, maybe someone from a university here, and they're currently just having a conversation while the man is mainly talking, and the halfling's just kind of listening and being a little bored, until she casts a glance at the door and seeing who's there, and you see Elena also immediately react, and the two definitely seem to know each other. Now beyond that, way in the corner sits a strange, you think maybe half-elf, but definitely, otherworldly presence, or not presence, but otherworldly feel about this person. Just a little bit mystical, a little bit weird. And you see a woman with short red hair, very thin, in clothes that don't speak to someone of high stature. Everyone else in here is dressed in very fine clothes and formal clothing as well, not too dissimilar to what you've bought for the Equinical. But this person is as if they just came in from the fields and are now sitting here clean, but definitely much less dressed up than the rest here. But everyone seems to be ignoring or has somehow agreed to, not pay any attention to this person. You also notice that at another table sits Lord Fennec Storm, with his back or mostly turned away from the entrance, so he doesn't notice all of you. But you definitely see him and recognize him, and he seems to be sitting at a table. With her back turned to you is a woman, maybe a half-elf, maybe human, who is currently in deep conversation with Lord Fennec about God knows what. Then finally, at the bar, you see a pair of what seems to be a gnome on quite a high chair, and a human who is currently seemingly quite deep into his cups. He's dressed formally, in quite nice clothes, but it's been like he's ripped open his shirt a little bit, and he's got like what would have been a nice scarf kind of just wrapped or thrown around his shoulders. He's just not in a good place, and the gnome is just kind of seemingly trying to encourage him or trying to comfort him somehow with whatever situation he's dealing with. And then finally, you will see them in a bit as you enter, but around the corner, on these like long benches that are built into the side of the tavern, you see a very formally dressed half-orc female, and she is currently like she has a kind of rigid, almost soldier-like posture to her, and she is at a table with a similarly formally dressed human woman who is they're just having a quiet conversation over what seems to be a couple of glasses of wine. So that is the place that you find, and as Elena enters, and all of you do after her, you kind of stomp your feet a little bit to get the snow off of them, and of course feel glad that you're in a warm place now. She turns to all of you and she says, if you'll just excuse me for a moment, please find a place to sit, have a drink, and I will be right with you. I just need to catch up with my colleague here. I know that she must have been worried, so I will be right with you. And she goes to sit beside the halfling at the table nearby. So you are essentially left for the moment to your own devices, as you are able to enter the tavern and find a place to sit. A good place looks to be maybe at some of the quite cozy looking sofa benches that are built into the side of the wall, but wherever you want to sit, you're free to do so. And you can also order a drink at a nondescript, not standing out bartender who is currently just kind of running back and forth, getting people some drinks and otherwise remaining unnoticed. So, is there anything special that you guys want to do here, or do you just want to go sit down and have a chat about everything that's happened so far?
I'm not feeling especially comfortable to risk anything, and that risking anything would be engaging with any of these people for the time being. So I think that I will just start directing myself to this, this sort of sofa here, this table right here, and find myself a place near this sort of division here that exists. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll follow, but the only thing that I will do is just carefully observe, and carefully both in terms of, taking in as much detail, but carefully as not to be particularly obvious about it. Okay. Observe the people inside and try to place any of them and figure out do any of their, appearances or anything ring any bells as to who these people might be.
Okay. Go ahead and make a intelligence check, let's say. And for anyone else who wants to, feels that they would maybe know some of these folks, you don't have to be politically connected, but you can also just have spent a lot of time in Postizia and think maybe I've heard or read about some of these people. You can also make a similar check if you wish.
It's a 9 for me. Can I use the sorcery point to reroll?
Yes.
Okay.
As much as Turnark is kind of used to, formal situations and encounters, he's had his fair share already. So it's more like something, he's anxious for when he's leaving. So he's not paying particular attention to what's going on. He just wants to get done with business.
Okay. That's fair. All right. So, you guys...
I don't think Barnack would know anyone, so... Barnack was not in Postizia that long.
Okay. So, Arby will just quickly go like, if you want, I'll just get you some drinks and I'll sit down at the bar and just stay out of sight. I don't really want anyone here to pay any attention to me, so...
Sounds good.
I got the impression you guys have some stuff you need to talk about, without me.
Carrying Arby down.
Okay. So yeah, essentially throughout this, if you want, let's say, if you do have any drinks, just deduct 5 silver and that will cover primarily what you have, and Arby will be the one fetching it for you, as a good manservant would, even though he technically isn't.
Yeah.
And the five of you sit down at the table, finding finally some peace, some warmth, and some time to really sit and talk amongst yourselves about all the things that now lie behind you and that may lie still in front of you. So, I know that Tani has something to say, but does anyone else want to kick anything off as well?
I rolled a 19 for
Oh,
the...
right, the 19, sorry. Let me see here. I will say, with that roll, you recognize, especially because you probably read it recently in the newspaper as well, in the Australia Dispatch, you recognize that the man who was kind of annoying Elena's co-worker must be the famous Sir Rondavius Breckenbridge. He is said to have, accomplished quite a few feats during the war, and generally be, that kind of almost an old-fashioned ideal of a knight. And he has recently been assigned as the head of the peace delegation to the Empire of Truth. So, as you look over there now and you try to place him, you notice that he's a bit peeved that Elena and her colleague are not paying attention to him. But he doesn't necessarily wander over to anyone else. He just waits for them to finish. The other person that you are able to place, let's see, out of these, I will say is the Distraught Man at the bar. So the Distraught Man at the bar, you recognize based on probably some family features that are common in his face, and like their family is quite prominent in the assembly in general, as being one of the Grundigs. And again, that's a name that also came in the paper recently, because one of the Grundigs was a murder victim in the killing spree that was happening in the city. Connecting those two things, it's probably easy to say he is unhappy because someone close to him was murdered recently. The others, you are not familiar enough to place.
Cool.
All right. So, sitting together, what do you guys want to do here, or do you want to wait for Elena to rejoin you guys?
I have a question, Jean-Jacques, and I don't know why I didn't ask you this before. Maybe I did, but I did. I'm forgetful. Why do you use that other? Well,
Last name?
yeah, I don't want to say it. You said not to mention that, so yeah, that.
FYI, Bruno asked me about this in our
Yeah, I
Discord just
DM
now,
him
so
about this. You gotta explain me that shit later.
Yeah. So he takes a moment to kind of consider, and well, you weren't there, Turnock, at the time, but if you remember, we had a conversation back, I think it was in not in North Dyke, but in Watchhold.
Watchhold.
Yes, about me and my role. I cannot go into too many details because it's, well, both private and confidential, but my service to my family is one of intelligence gathering. I go out into the world and the Republic and beyond to find useful information, try to move events in a favorable direction for the preservation of the Republic. As such, going everywhere as Jean-Jacques, and I kind of lower my voice slightly, Chopin, the son of the former Grand Pensioner of Nordic, or just Pensionary? Pensionary.
Yeah.
The son of the former Pensionary of North Dock can get in the way of that. And former, as of recently, many years, it was the current. And that changes the way that people perceive you, react to you, and what they're willing to say around you. So, I've adopted a number of identities over the past.
So you're more well known for whom you tend to be rather than who you really are.
To an extent, well, you could say so. On a personal level, certainly. But in terms of in certain circles and with certain people, I would be recognized more as my true self than one of my identities.
Your name is more known then.
Correct.
So your name is okay.
As he says that, I just take a long sip of whatever drink I was having, and then, well, I just hope the whatever notes you scribbled about me are just saying nice things.
I kind of chuckle a bit and I say, well, I am a man of complicated morality and, allegiance. Those that I work with closely, such as yourselves, are exempt from reports that I
We'll see
make.
that. Yeah, we'll see that.
That's good, actually. Some of those reports wouldn't be good. No?
I look at Barnick and I say, certainly not.
Yeah.
Certainly not, my friend. A lot of the things that you and I did in the past did not make to anybody's ears because, boy, would that not look good for either of us.
Yeah. And I didn't say anything to anyone ever.
And you can see that Turnock is kind of holding the whatever drink with the hand that his that slight breakdown when we were leaving in order to just not hurt that much, trying to at least ease a little bit the pain of the cut that he inflicted on himself.
Yeah. All right. So yeah.
But yeah, so what we found out, and Turnock, this is what you were right. I mean, just tasting blood of anything is not good, but at the same time, that is the only way of seeing if it's normal.
The only way you know.
Well, yeah, but I was only Tanya and I were there, and
Yeah, we were.
to tell you the truth, Tanya also tried it.
Lower down your voice.
Well, he seemed fine after, and he stood up even straighter, and he looked well after trying it. And yeah, of course I was gonna try it too.
Well, if that's too much for you to recall, I'll write a personal reminder for you to not drink anyone else's blood.
No more blood. No.
I will say, Core will interject at this point, kind of concerned, and he'll go, "You have to be careful with that. You might become a vampire like my father."
That's also true. Maybe
I
he and
just
I
stopped
have that
that.
in common.
Like I just look at Core and I say, "There's so many things that we still need to talk about." Oh my goodness.
That's why.
This is a complicated bunch.
And
Turnock and I did find an apparatus that seemed to have been used to take the blood of this person and gather it into potions. So
no, I have more information about that person. It's an Asimar, not a human.
that makes a lot of sense.
He was rather dashing to be an unsold, handsome.
Look at
Otherwise-
Tiny.
What? He was.
Do
Yeah,
you
he-
think that affliction affects only ugly people?
No,
I'm just genuine curiosity.
I thought it made them, zombie-ish. At least that's what I thought when they mentioned unsold. So it surprised me a little bit. Is all.
I see. Yeah, it would be a lot simpler to recognize at a first glance if that were the case. But no, it's unfortunately a lot different. than a zombie.
Out of all places, the Republic would definitely be the one place that I would that I would hope or at least imagine that an SMR would be after all these years since the last time I saw one. I'm glad. I'm not especially glad that we were not able to take the helping of these people into our own hands. That's definitely something. We are subject to many forces that are way more powerful than us, and that does not please me at all.
And as a good friend said a few days ago, we have to stop saying yes to everything. So, yeah. And
We need to, as I said to Jean Jacques earlier, and I hope that I have this conversation with you all, we need to definitely rethink how we're going to proceed after we're done with the business that we've already said yes to.
yeah, I think a road trip would be nice. We'll see though. One thing though, while we were walking, Tani, you said you wanted to share something with all of us. Do you think this is the place and time, or
That's what I was gonna ask. Is the right place? Should I be talking about my past year?
Well, we're in private, so we're just under the risk of being interrupted at any point. So it's just what do you think? How long do you think that you take to tell us that?
I look at because I've been talking with him. I look at Jean Jacques, like see if he approves.
Before I respond, Kevin, like, would I, just based on my past and stuff, have any idea of like how often, like how much of a practice is it to have people listening in on these kinds of places? Like,
Actually, here it would be the utmost taboo.
yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Like, this would probably be the safe haven, right?
Yeah, this is where people, are able to have those off-the-record conversations and just, whatever they need to say, they can say, and then they go back and they work it out officially in the assembly.
I just give Tanya like a slight nod, like, yeah.
Okay then. Well, where do I even start? And I'll try to keep my face straight because I don't want these people to see that I'm subject to hard emotions. But remember after Appy, well, not Appy, went, after all that happened, remember that Finn waved me over and I went away for a second? Remember? And I wait until they somehow say something. Yeah.
yes?
Well, he asked me how I'm doing from everything that's happened, about the aboleth and falling unconscious, and yeah. I told him that. Well, I didn't tell him much detail. And I lower my voice down a little bit more. I told him about the mirror room memories. I didn't go into detail about the memories, but I mentioned that, yeah, I saw something that could have conceivably been from my past, and how I wanted to remember what and who I was. It could be a chance to understand. And then I told him about, we went to this place and the statue place, but I didn't tell him details because I remembered that you guys told me that I shouldn't tell everything. And as I mentioned that, he sighed, like, sadly, and he said, "Did she speak to you?" And so he knew something. And then he told me that I made him promise never to say a word about my past, apparently. He doesn't know much, but apparently what I remember about living on the street, living on the streets in Postizia for a while and starting to go into his tavern and sleeping on the floor, apparently that's not how it happened. Apparently he met me through Miss Gold. You remember Miss Gold? Okay, yeah, you remember. She was helping me get better, and apparently to do that, I had to forget. So myself from the past decided to forget all this, and I made him promise not to say anything, and I had to forget a lot about it, and apparently I knew a lot of secrets, and Miss Gold helped me, and the only way to bury my past was to forget, but okay, wait, need to calm down. I told myself I was gonna have a straight face.
It's okay, Tiny. It's okay. It's
No, but
really, it's okay.
he says even I was a bit different back then. I was quite self-assured, intelligent. I had a purpose. And he says only I can get back to them. They're still in here somewhere, stored away. And that much I know, because back when we were in that statue place, I don't know, looking at that place, suddenly there was this confusing emotions. I sort of not blacked out, but I was like on automatic mode. There were thoughts and memories that I couldn't place, and I remember I knelt before the statue, and I was about to speak words, and they were familiar at the moment, but I can't recall them now. And then I had this dream. That's why I was so out of sorts that day, and at the brothel. I had a dream, and she did reach out to me.
Oh?
And I say she, and I guess
she,
you know.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she.
I felt this. Well, I told Jean-Jacques about it. Sorry I didn't tell you. But he was asking about it, so I told him.
What's she? Who's she?
You know.
I just kind of motion to Tani, don't say the name. I just say, let's not say it. And I pull out a piece of parchment if I have it on my body, and I just write it really quickly down, just the word Tiamat, throw it to everybody. And then immediately, if there's is there a candle on the table or something?
Most definitely, yeah.
Yeah,
Or
and then I
oil
just
lamp
immediately
even,
burn
yeah.
it. Yeah, immediately burn the as soon as everybody kind of notices what I wrote down.
Yeah, in my dream I was standing alone in the middle of a big empty space, a big cavern, and I felt this. It was empty and dark, but at the same time I felt this great presence, and suddenly how can I describe it? The ground burst open, and there was, what was the word again?
Chasm?
No. I do remember, it's just, I don't know, Tany's acting like, well, the ground burst open, and there was, oh yeah, magma, there was lava, there was, and then, I don't know, shakings and crackings, and my heart was beating, and I was sweating because, of course, it's hot. And then I heard this immense pressure, this strange force, this she, and I remember I heard this voice. I'm trying to forget about it, but how can I forget this kind of dream? I remember clearly. She said, "Harold, you have returned to me." And then something about you being incomplete. And like there was this piece of myself that was missing, and then something about I will be whole again. The sign of the red eye will lead me. Look for it, and that okay, that was a dream. But I don't know what Finn said. It changes everything. I feel like because I decided that I was gonna forget. So suddenly, not sure if what should I do even because there must be a good reason why I decided to forget all this. At the same time, me, the tiny I am now, I wanted to understand. But what if discovering it, I don't know, changes me?
I
And
mean, sorry.
so, yeah, I had to tell you. There is this clue that Finn told me. I told him never to near her. And there's a person in the university who apparently used to come with me.
Okay. Okay. Danny, I have I have two questions only for you. And I don't wish an answer to these questions, but I just want you to think about them. First of all, is if you would you like to remember, and if you do, would you be willing to face the consequences of not only remembering but risking becoming the person that at one point in time you were willing to forget you were?
That's the thing. I wanted to understand, but from what Finn says, I'm not sure anymore. Maybe you can help me think.
Tani,
Well,
go
sorry.
ahead, Tarnak. No,
Okay.
go ahead. I'm still processing. Takes a bit
Mm,
more for me to process.
from what you said, of course, this is way beyond my knowledge. What I'm able to deduce, and it's just a deduction. Don't take this for face value at its face value. But you heard a calling. Whatever needs, she needs it from you, and she wants you to take part in it. So, what worries me the most here is just you not being able, after remembering what your purpose was, what your intents were previously, that you wouldn't be able to actually recognize or differ from who you are now and who you were back then. And that would be extremely problematic. Of course, we would always be here to remember you of the kind, gentle person that you are nowadays, and what are your true intentions. That is, you know, to the most part, do goodery,
Well, I don't have my gloves anymore,
and that's an
so I won't
amazing,
attack
wonderful
you
thing.
because of the gloves, but
That's
yeah.
one step. That's one step further that you're taking, and that's already really, really good. What, but at the same time, it's your calling. You received this calling. This is your mission or purpose, or were your mission and purpose. So, if it is your true intentions to find out what were old Tony, so to say, up to, well, we'll wage you. And I look at them before saying the word we, but we'll wage you. And if it comes to that, we'll help stop the drive, whatever's pushing you doing these things that old Tony, also the old Tony with those old purposes, wanted to forget at some point in time. So I think that the course of action that we should take here would probably, well, not only and not only look for said person in the university, but also pay a visit to Miss Gold herself.
Yeah. Why did it have to be like this? It's all their fault, you know? It's their fault I'm like this. It's their fault I'm this. How can my past self do this to me? But yeah,
We are
I
all
think
embarrassed of
after,
things we've done.
even after knowing, even after maybe I'll have a breakdown like Appy did, I think I do want to know. It is important, right? And
Appy, the difference between you and Appy, and even if you have a breakdown like Appy, was honestly, even though we were there, he was alone. And even if you have a breakdown, you won't be alone.
oh, so hold on, out of character. Oh, yeah. Back to character.
And I think that there is one more very, very important difference, Tani, is that Turnoff was talking about past Tani and current Tani, but the past Tani wanted to be you. She wanted to forget so that she could be you. Because you're amazing, Tani. And the things that you've done cannot be marred by whatever past or whatever things you were led to believe or do. Because even in that state, being led on by this infernal entity and the cult you were a part of, you still managed to be strong enough to say, no, I do not want this to be a part of my life, and made the ultimate sacrifice by cutting it away. And that is a big difference.
And I strongly believe this is ingrained in you.
I'll
If
look
you-
at Jean-Jacques while he's saying that, and look at him if he's also like just talking about Tani or someone else.
There's a strange look in Jean-Jacques' eyes.
Okay.
And
Then-
Tani, another thing you said you wanted to know. How do I put this? You, or rather, what Tarnak said, your old self, and what Jean-Jacques said, your old self. Remember that old self had memories of whatever, let's say, she was made to do. This Tani, you are a new person. You have memories with us and with all the other things that you did. So even if you remember whatever you do, you have new experiences to guide you. And you will still be able to say no if you need to say no. You did it in a state without, well, I cannot say that you were without friends, but you did it in a state without us. I'm pretty sure you'll be able to say no when we're helping.
So,
You're right.
as you guys
So,
are
yeah.
talking, just quickly because we almost have to finish,
Mhm.
but also as you guys are talking and these wonderful words are being shared and confidences are being reaffirmed, someone at the bar kind of turns around and looks at you guys, and you think for a second they're looking at you, but they're looking at the window that is like above the bench behind you, and you turn and you look the same way, and you hear their voice, and it seems that this is what's his name, really quickly, this was Philip who turned around, and he goes like, huh, is that a fire? And you guys look out the window, and at several other windows, people throughout the bar or throughout the tavern go to look, and you see indeed on the skyline, just above the rooftops in the distance, instead of the pure black of night and the falling snow, you see the orange glow of a fire in the distance. And as you all kind of take in what this might mean, Tani, just to you it seems, this fire takes on the shape of a dragon's head with a single eye facing towards you. And that's where we'll pick it up next time.